Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how to create a very simple sales process. Now the reason I'm shooting this video is because I very often have conversations with writers, and in particular ghostwriters, who struggle with creating a very simple sales system. They often don't feel comfortable with being salespeople, and I strongly understand where they're coming from. I'm not really a natural salesperson myself, but I've somehow managed to create sales systems that make sense for me and allow me to help other people get the results that they're after. So if you want to create a sales system, what I suggest you want to do is try to simplify it. And I would probably suggest trying to simplify it into 3 simple steps. First, identifying a problem that you can solve. Secondly, coming up with a solution that can help the client overcome their problem. And finally, implement the solution so that the client is able to get the outcome that they're after. Now, you might want to ask yourself, well, that sounds very simple, but is this being done in real life? Well, if you want to see this process in real life, just try to think of every time you've gone to the doctor. Usually, the experience of trying to deal with a medical issue is usually the exact same 3 steps. First, the doctor sees you and trying to understand what's wrong with you. They might want to do a series of tests to try to understand what it is that you are struggling with and the underlying causes. Then they might suggest a solution, which could, for instance, be going on antibiotics. And then finally, we have the implementation bit, where you might be taking the antibiotics over a series of a couple of weeks to overcome whatever ailment you have. So now let's step out of that situation and try to apply it in a sales scenario. So to show you that, I want to show you how I've managed to implement these 3 simple steps and apply them in my own sales funnel. So here what you see on the page at the moment is what I call my LinkedIn profile checklist. When I'm having a conversation with someone, I usually start with reviewing their LinkedIn profile, because most of what I do is helping professionals and helping writers in particular generate sales. So in order for me to help them generate sales, they need to have a solid professional presence. Most of the time, their LinkedIn profile isn't very good. So what I do is I go over their profile from top to bottom, ask them specific questions, and if they say that they do not have a solution to the question, so for instance, do you have a clear reason for why you are on LinkedIn, and they say no to that, that is a potential issue. So the more no's, the better it is for me as a salesperson, because then we're able to identify a problem that needs to be addressed. Now, after we have identified the problem, then the next step is how we're able to come up with a solution. So what I do here is I add additional notes on how they're able to improve their LinkedIn profile. I provide articles. All of these links that you see here are hyperlinks going to videos, getting into more detail on how they can solve the issues. I also include links to other profiles of writers, so they're able to see how other writers can are currently presenting themselves. And I include links to websites that allow them to see how professionals outside of their field also present themselves on LinkedIn. So with all of these resources, I'm taking them towards a solution, but ultimately it doesn't really solve the end game, which is getting business. It only improves their main profile. So then what I try to do in step 2, which is the solution bit, is to offer them a proposal. So I try to do that in a second meeting, and in order to show you that, I'm now going to share you my screen. Now in proposal, I try to basically show them how they're able to overcome their problem of generating more sales by generating them leads. So in the proposal, I basically go over 4 key points. The first is their current situation. That's why we get into the problem. I get into a solution, where we get into how we're going to be able to solve it. And this is broken down into specific steps and with information that I adjust depending on their circumstances. Then I provide references, which is basically testimonials of people that I worked with in the past, and that is to remove any doubt or any uncertainty that they have. And then finally I get into the next steps, and this is where we actually get into the final step of the 3, which is implementation. This is where I tell them what they need to do in order to get started with solving their problem. So here, in very simple terms, we have the 3 steps. We have the identification of the problem with the LinkedIn profile checklist. We get into the solution in the proposal, and towards the end we hint towards the implementation. Then it's really down to the specific ghostwriter or prospect to take the action of signing up or moving on to the trial. So if we try to summarize this, in order to create a sales process that can work for you, there are 3 steps. First, put in place a process that helps you identify the problems that your potential clients might have. Secondly, identify a solution that can help them overcome the problem, and there might be several problems, so come up with a solution that will allow your clients to overcome them. And then finally, support the implementation. If you manage to do all these 3 things, you have yourself a sales process. Now, you might want to tweak and adjust this process depending on the type of offering that you have, but the simpler you try to make it, the simpler it becomes for you to execute. I hope you found that useful. I'll get back to you with more videos on how you can grow your business.